So let's use this Excel worksheet to get a better idea about how this window function works. Okay, we can of course show this in Power BI, but I think this simple setting in Excel is gonna help better understand how the window function works. So suppose in a DAX code you have defined a variable W, and this variable is basically equal to this window function. Okay, this window function have the following inputs or arguments. All right. So basically, this window function is going to working on this table called this table. All right. Well, this entire table we're talking about. Okay, I call it this table, and this is the input. Basically, tells which data table we're going to work on using this window function. Then those three colored arguments are the important arguments that tells how this table is being sorted. Okay, first of all, we tell Power BI this table is using this match by clause. We tell Power BI that each observation in this table is identified by a stock symbol and a date. Basically, each observation is regarding a particular stock on a particular date. So in our table, we basically have quarterly income statements regarding different stocks. So on a particular row, this is basically regarding IBM in the second quarter of 2024. Another row is going to be IBM third quarter of 2024. Okay, so each particular row in this table is regarding a particular stock in a particular quarter. All right, so this is basically identified by the symbol column and the date column together. Okay, each observation is identified by these two data fields. This is specified by the match by, okay, telling Power BI how a combination of data fields can identify a single observation in the table. Partition by tells Power BI how this table is being partitioned. Okay, here we tell Power BI to partition this table by stock symbol. All right, so each stock symbol is being a particular block. All right, and then order by clause tells Power BI that within each partition or each stock group, all right, for example, within this partition regarding stock Ford, the date is being ordered in the ascending order. So this ASC stands for a ascending order. Okay, so the date field is being ordered in ascending order within each block for a particular stock symbol. All right, you can see here again this table. For each stock, we have dates being ordered ascendingly. All right, so that's basically the structure of this table, and it's being sorted in this particular way based on these three arguments. Okay, then once this table is sorted in such a way that it's easy to retrieve particular rows from this table. All right, so the window function is gonna retrieve, according to this definition, the window function is going to retrieve 4 rows prior to the current row, all the way to 1 row prior to the current row. Okay, so this REL stands for relative. So we're retrieving rows relative to the current row. All right, again, here we are trying to define, for example, we probably try to define a new column called revenue last year. So, for example, this row, all right, regarding IBM on the second quarter of 2024. So we try to calculate revenue last year for this row. All right, then we need to have information regarding the revenue in the prior 4 quarters. Okay, so in Excel, all right, it's basically equal to the sum of the revenue in the previous 4 quarters. Okay, this will define what we call revenue last year. All right, so this number, I'll make it, I'll get rid of the zeros. So 710, which is the revenue last year when we're talking about, when we're standing at June 30th of 2024, and at this date, we're talking about what's going to be the firm's revenue in the last year, which is the prior 4 quarters. Okay, so when we're standing at July 30th, 2024, and when we talk about IBM's revenue in the last 4 quarters, this is going to be the 710 because this is the sum of the IBM's revenue in the prior 4 quarters relative to this current quarter or the current row, which regarding July 30th, 2024 of IBM. All right. Similarly, you can just copy and paste, I guess, and find, for example, if you are now standing at the end of year 2024, okay, the last quarter of year 2024, and we're talking about what's the total revenue of IBM in the prior 4 quarters, okay, it's gonna be 960, and this 960 is basically the revenue in the prior 4 quarters relative to the last quarter of year 2024. We're just summing up the revenue in the prior 4 quarters. So this is a definition we try to, this is a column we try to construct, this revenue of last year, okay? But now let's go to the first observation for Ford. Here, at this date, we try to find the revenue of last year. Basically, we need to retrieve revenue from the last 4 quarters for Ford. But this observation is basically the very first observation for Ford. So there's no previous observations, okay? There's no prior quarters before this date, okay? So basically this revenue of last quarter is going to be a blank value. We don't have data regarding the prior 4 quarters. Now if we stand at July 30th, 2024, okay, we still do not have 4 quarters of data, but we have at least 1 quarter before the second quarter of 2024 for Ford, okay? So in this case, we'll just use the prior 1 quarter, okay? And this is the, well, technically speaking, it's not the revenue of last year, but it's only the revenue of the most recent quarter because we do not have data going even further back into the history, all right? So we just take whatever we have in the past 4 quarters, okay? If we only have 1 quarter for the past year, okay, we just take 1 quarter from the past year, okay? Similarly, if we're standing at September 30th, 2024, we're talking about what's going to be the revenue in the prior 4 quarters. Again, we do not have that much data. We only have data in the prior 2 quarters, so we'll just sum them up, all right? So we do the same thing here when we are standing at December 31st, 2024. We're trying to figure out what's the total revenue in the prior 4 quarters. The furthest we can go is going to be the first quarter of 2024. So we have actually 3 quarters of data to do the summation, and this will give us a number of 720. Okay, now when we get to March 31st, 2025, and we're trying to get the total revenue in the prior 4 quarters, well, in this case, we actually have 4 quarters in the prior. I mean, we have, you know, the data regarding the prior 4 quarters. So we can sum up the revenue in the prior 4 quarters, okay? Then this summation can also carry over to the remaining quarters for Ford, right? So for this, July 30th, 2025, we're going to sum up the prior 4 quarters revenue, okay? Again, for September 30th, 2025, we can sum up the revenue in the prior 4 quarters. All the way to the last quarter in the data set, this December 31st, 2025, we still have the prior 4 quarters we can sum up, all right? So basically, we try to do this summation over the prior 4 quarters. Well, if there's less than 4 quarters prior to the current quarter, okay, we just take whatever we have in the prior quarters. It could be 3 quarters prior to the current quarter, 2 quarters, or 1 quarter, okay? As long as we have data prior to the current quarter, we just take them, okay? Of course, if we have like 4 quarters or more than 4 quarters prior to the current quarter, we'll just take the prior 4 quarters revenue and sum them together to get this, what we call revenue last year, okay? So this is the column we try to construct.